Over the years that my wife and I have lived in and worked on buses, both our own buses and those of customers, I've kind of identified some tools or things that I just really like, either because they work better than others that I've found, or they're exceptionally high quality, or just a really good value. And I want to share some of those here. I think there are 14 of them. I'm not going to make you wait until the end and count down 1 through 14. I'm going to do this a little differently. I'm going to just show you everything first, and if you want, you can pick something, say, hey, that's cool. That's a great gift for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever holiday, and then pick it and bail out. If you want to learn a little bit more about why I like a particular tool or a blanket or whatever I show you, then you could stick around. I'll start over here and work my way around sort of clockwise. The power probe, I think it's the best test tool out there. It won't completely replace a multimeter, but this thing is just super handy. A set of ratcheting crimpers, just to help ensure a good crimp every time. The Milwaukee biteable pen light. Pliers, made in Japan by Vampire Tools. A set of Knipex, little parallel jaw pliers. Crescent. These use some leverage, much like a bolt cutter, diagonal wire cutters. Small bolt cutters. A torque multiplier with, this is the large set, they make a smaller set too, but for changing tires. The Jackson grinding and just general face protective shield. A rumple blanket. It's kind of the civilian version of the Whoopee. I forgot to show you this along with the torque multiplier. This is a 1.5-inch socket that also has a 13/16 square drive if you've got Bud lug nuts. Traction mats. These are pretty inexpensive and they will survive being used on a bus. The little Burton single burner induction countertop cooktop, man, this thing rocks and it's just fantastic. We've used it in a bus now for over a year and I can highly recommend it. A blowgun. I'll show you, I think, a better version of this. This one I got at a truck stop, but having a blowgun just for blowing out the cab in the front of your bus is super handy and very easy to install. And then we'll stop over here with the BlueFire. The BlueFire is a diagnostic tool that plugs into your OBD onboard diagnostics port. Tells you all kinds of stuff. That's the quick list, and if you want to just stop here and pick something for your significant other, family member, friend that needs something for a bus, just grab one of these. I can recommend, and I obviously use all of these. They're all dirty, but if you want a little more detail, I'll go into each of these and show you kind of exactly why I like and why I picked each of these products. There are two things that I just really like about this. One is its efficiency. If you put this on boil on high, it will boil a pot of water so much faster than our bus propane stove. In fact, you can tell we don't use the propane anymore. It just doesn't get as hot as we would like. And second is that it, even on a lower than maximum setting, it'll sear a steak. Nothing's better than grilled veggies or grilled steak out on a grill, but if you're doing steak and eggs and it's snowing out or something and you want to cook inside, this little thing will do a much better job than propane. And I think its energy usage is pretty reasonable. Yeah, it draws about 1800 watts at max power, but it's so fast that it doesn't use that much energy. So power is sort of instantaneous, energy's over time. The overall energy consumption of this thing certainly fits in our energy budget and works off our inverter. Highly recommended. This is cooked over propane. Doesn't sear that well. This torque multiplier will let you take lug nuts off that you can't get off with a 2-foot cheater bar. I had a vehicle that we bought and the lug nuts were all pretty rusted in place. And I had a 6-foot cheater bar and I could not get them off. And I hooked this up, used that crank. Now it takes about 60 turns of the handle to turn this end 1 revolution with the socket, but I was able to get those off. I have never been unable to bust lug nuts free with this thing, so I take it whenever I travel. It allows me to change tires on a bus. And yes, one of the sheep hurt their ear, and you can see what color the sheep antibiotic lotion is, the ointment. I think it's there until my skin comes off. Anyway, for under $100, you can get, I think it's about $70 for one with 4 sockets. We travel enough and have enough different vehicles that we're picking up or moving that I got the bigger set, and this one's right about $100, but absolutely worth it. If you have an air ride seat in your bus, then you've got a little 1/4-inch line feeding that air ride seat. And this particular blowgun kit I got at a truck stop. Normally $25, it was on sale for $20. I am posting below a link to one that I like a little bit better, only because it's easier to install and the hose is a little bit longer, but these are great. It just sits down behind the seat, and when you need it, you pull it out and you can blow off the cab, blow the hair off your dog, whatever you need. So these are standard kind of normal water pump pliers, and they work pretty well, but you'll notice that the angle between the blades changes. And so if you grab a nut, you may only grab it at the narrow part. If you grab a nut in here, it doesn't grab it evenly. These little Knipex, and I will admit that for 2 years I thought it was pronounced Knipex, like a knife, but I went to their website after seeing the guy on Project Farm, who's fantastic, calling it Knipex. And sure enough, he's right. I should have known. Anyway, these things are just fantastic. They are so nice that my wife wants to steal these. It's got some leverage here, and the jaws stay parallel. You can adjust the width so you can grab something pretty big. Do that one-handed. So it's got a pretty good range, but the jaws stay parallel the whole time. Absolutely worth it. They're a little bit expensive, but these are the ones that I carry with me most often. If you're working in a bus and doing electrical stuff, you definitely need a pair of diagonal cutters just for cutting off wires and other things. And these work fine, but I find that I really like these that have a little compound leverage action. Leverage is great. My middle name is Archimedes, after all. But these things are made by Crescent, and then this is just a small pair of bolt cutters. Both of these are pretty inexpensive, but when I'm going to grab something for cutting a bunch of wires, these are the ones I go to just because they really make it a lot easier for cutting off wires, especially thicker stuff. My well-worn, beat-up little Milwaukee inspection pen light. It's kind of expensive, I think, for what it is, but I've had this one for, I don't know, a couple years, and one of the things I really like about it is the top up here is rubber, or rubberized at least. It's designed so you can put it in your teeth and not chip them, which I have done. It's not the brightest flashlight in the world. I think it's only about 100 lumens, but it's very color correct. It lets me see colors, and I find that this is the one I carry in my pocket. When I'm out working on a vehicle, this is the one I got because I stick it in my teeth. I can point it exactly where I want, and it just does work pretty well. It's held up well. No complaints. Another tool that I really recommend if you've got a bus and you're doing any kind of electrical work is a good set of ratcheting crimpers. Now these ratchet shut, so see, I'm letting go, and they don't actually open until you apply sufficient pressure, get that thing closed enough. These will work, and they're okay, but they're just really one size fits all. And And if you've got different, connectors, different crimp fittings, you've got the blue, the yellow, the red. Traditionally, these are even color-coded, so you know which one to use and which jaw opening there. And they just give you a more consistent crimp. It's got a wider base in here, so the crimp is actually wider in addition to being sufficiently crimped. These will work. Those other ones, the cheap ones, I don't even have any of those. The ones that come in the kit with 50 different little crimp connectors. I give those to Goodwill or something or throw them away. They just are trash. So for 20, 25 bucks, absolutely worth doing. I could do a whole video, in fact I should, on the BlueFire. So the BlueFire is a diagnostic transmitter or data transmitter that plugs into the OBD port. So if you've got a more recent bus that has a 9-pin port like this plugs into that port. Typically in a bus, it'll have a cap with a little chain. Unscrew that cap, plug this in, download the app. Now, I will say I give the module like a 9 out of 10. Their software is a bit kludgy. Takes a little bit of finesse, I guess, to get it to work right. But you can modify it. If you've got an older bus, it's got a 6-pin port like this, then you can get the adapter cable. I carry both of these just because I don't know which bus will have which kind of fitting, but it works really well, and then it will communicate and send those data to a tablet or a phone or something, and you can set up the screen with little gauges or just see everything in analog, just in numbers. My favorite pliers. Look how dirty those things are, but these are the Van pliers. They've got a jaw opening on the end. It's designed, I think, or marketed as a screw removal plier because you can grab stuff on the end. But I'm always trying to grab stuff like this and twisting, and a regular set of pliers that has flat jaws and the grooves, I guess those are grooves, the teeth that go across side to side just don't grip as well as these. So this really works well in all kinds of situations. Really well made in Japan by Vampire Tools, Van Pliers. They'd make a great gift. One more tool for electrical work on your bus, and I know we seem to have an electrical theme going on, but if you've got a bus and you've got all those wires, you got to figure out what's what and why things work or not. And I think everybody should have a good meter, and having one that has the clamp-on ammeter function that works for DC, I think is important. But you can use a basic test probe like this. You clip this to the ground, and then when you touch this to something that's got positive 12 volt or 24 volt, depending upon the bulb in here, the bulb will illuminate. And that works. That tells you if you got some voltage. A bit of an investment, about $100. I think I paid $129 for this, and they have apparently come down since then. But this is a power probe. It does the same function as this with the light, but it actually tells you how many volts you're reading, and it lets you, with the push of a button, send either 12 volts positive or a ground through this probe. So if you're connected with these to power somewhere, to a battery or a positive post on a bus bar, then you can touch this to a terminal on a solenoid and push the button, send 12 volts there, and see if the solenoid reacts, see if the light bulb lights, see if that circuit comes alive. It's circuit protected, circuit breaker protected, so if you try to use this for your starter, you'll blow or trip the little circuit breaker, and you just push that button to reset it. Really handy. Definitely recommend it, and because of a few requests, I will do a video on troubleshooting using the power probe. Well, what can I say? They are traction mats, but they are pretty inexpensive. Considering the quality, they are $50 or so for the pair. They come in a little bag. If you are doing any kind of boondocking, you're going anywhere off-road, even if you don't plan to, I think it's worth having a set of these in your bus. They're plastic, but they are super sturdy. We use them on a medium-duty Freightliner to get it unstuck from a really muddy spot at a Ragnar race, and they just work really well. So Maybe a luxury, maybe not. It's not a luxury if it gets you out of a situation where you are otherwise waiting for help. This last one may seem odd. It's not a tool. But if you're living in a bus, you know there are always parts where it's a little drafty or one part's a little colder than another. It's really nice to have a good quality blanket. And this Rumple is 2 years old, maybe 2.5, and it is held up really well. It's got a water repellent outer shell. It's lightweight, it's packable, it's durable, it's super warm, and just, I think, just a fantastic gift. We give them as gifts, and I wanted to include it here just because it fits in with bus life. Anyway, I hope one of these is of interest to you. Maybe you saw something you want or you want to get for somebody else. There are links down below. Those are affiliate links. It doesn't cost you any extra, but I wanted to put everything in one spot in a place where you can find them. Anyway, as always, have a great day. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Or, if you don't see this until next year, Happy Mother's Day.